All right, good morning. Andy Lockwood here with another episode of College Coffee Talk. Hopefully, you're enjoying a nice, hot, tasty beverage. Mine, not so hot, but pretty tasty. So, College Coffee Talk is for parents of stressed out teens who have questions about college admissions, college financial aid, choosing majors, ACT, SAT prep, everything and anything that has to do with the whole college process. And my mission for this daily 5 to 7 minute ish video is to attempt to answer all of the questions that we have gotten over the last couple of years when we do our webinars and our live workshops and so forth. And at the end, I'll tell you about our upcoming live workshop tonight. If you're local, we have a few seats left. Let's get right into the question. So this one was originally submitted in February of 2016. And the question, of course, I'm trying to find it now. The question initially came from Michelle. I believe Gagnon is how you pronounce her last name. And her question was, because when we do webinars, we ask people, what's the one thing you want to make sure that you learn? So her question was, does one's income and need or not need for financial aid affect your admission to certain colleges and universities? So I sort of rephrased that and said, listen, if you are applying for financial aid, does it hurt your chances of getting in? So these are the types of questions we get all the time. And by the way, if you have a question, pop it in comments. I will answer it. If you have a comment, absolutely throw it in there. I'll try to respond if it's appropriate for me to respond. And please share. We're getting a lot of good feedback from people, not only for this show, the Daily College Coffee Talk, but also for our Tuesday show, College Talk Tuesday. All right, so I can't get that right now. That's the CPA calling me. Okay, not mine. So my answer to that question is there are I don't remember exactly how many there are, but there are probably a couple dozen or more schools that claim that they are need blind. And what need blind means is that they will look at the admissions criteria or your qualifications, I should say, for admission, totally discrete and separate and insulated from your whether or not you need financial aid. And for the most part, I don't want to sound naive. For the most part, I think that the super elite schools, when they claim that they're need blind, I think they really are need blind. Now, there's a bunch of schools who are not the super elite schools who also maybe not so coincidentally have huge endowments. With the schools with lesser endowments, some of them may claim to be need blind, but I think many schools, and this is a trend, I think that is only going to continue, many schools are more or less need aware. So I actually remember maybe 3-4 years ago, my alma mater, Wesleyan University, the president sent around in one of those glossy brochures they sent to all the alumni, sent around an announcement saying that Wesleyan, because of certain financial pressures, at the time was going to change from being need blind to need aware. And what that meant was that whether you need financial aid or not was going to be one of the 20 or 25 factors that they considered for 10% of the incoming class. Now, I don't remember exactly. I remember being a little perplexed, like how do you carve out that 10%? But the point is that there's a shift, which shouldn't really be that surprising if you pay attention at all to colleges. Most of them are complaining and singing the blues about their costs, and that's why they raise their prices every year, particularly with state schools. State schools have had their budgets slashed by their respective state governments that allocate the funds for them to run their institutions. So but it's not only state schools, it's private schools also, and there are now fewer high school grads who are coming out into the pipeline for them, and there's been, I think we peaked a few years ago at 3 point something million, and now I think we're down to about 2.7 or 2.8 million high school graduates. On top of that, one of the most lucrative sources of revenue for colleges, I'm treating them as if they're businesses, so I hope you understand that they are businesses. But one of the best customers, types of students for them, are international students. But given the recent policy announcements by the new presidential administration, it's it's already looking like there's going to be a significant downturn in international students coming here to study. And for colleges, what that means is less money coming in, because the international students generally do not qualify for need-based financial aid, because most colleges don't apply those types of formulas to international students. They may award merit money, but certainly not need-based money. So that's sort of the backstory. So I do think that whether or not you need money is a factor in your chances of getting in to college. My final comment here is that I think that many kids and parents overblow this factor. So it's not that it's going to be the one determinant of whether or not you get into that particular college, but rather it's going to be, like the Wesleyan example, one of 20 or 25 factors. So the type of discussions I have a lot are, listen, I really want to get into Duke, but I'm nervous about applying for financial aid because I think it's going to hurt my chances of getting in. Well, Duke is one of these schools that says that it is need blind, and for the most part, I agree with that. So I think that's a little silly, at least intellectually. However, in practice, I'll tell you, I didn't take my own advice. I remember very clearly I advised a client 3 or 4 years ago. There's also other circumstances, but she specifically did not apply for need-based aid for Duke on my advice, because I was really more superstitious. It wasn't really a rational thing. So what actually happened was the kid got waitlisted and then ultimately got in, and then we said, oh, by the way, we forgot, we didn't think we were going to qualify for financial aid, so here's our applications. And Duke, to their credit, said, okay, you're late, but we understand, and we're going to consider you for financial aid. Ultimately, I think they issued about $17,000 per year, which was great, but a lot of schools won't do that. So it's hard to play that game. It's hard to say, because many schools instead what they'll say is, listen, you missed our deadlines, you're allowed to apply next year for financial aid, but we kind of know what you're doing this year. You're gaming us so that you can improve your chances of getting in, and then trying to pull a fast one on us and say, oh yeah, you meant to apply. So overall, I think from a superstitious standpoint, and maybe a tactical standpoint also, I would say that need-based, if you're applying for need-based aid, it could hurt your chances of getting in, just probably not as much. And frankly, if you can't afford the school, don't apply. If you can't afford to pay full price, I wouldn't apply to it. So if you need financial aid, I really encourage you to apply, fill out the financial aid forms, the FAFSA, the CSS profile, whatever, and let them know up front that you are applying for aid and you're not trying to do anything, slimy or underhanded. Okay, I hope you found this valuable, and like I said, I'd love you to share this with any other parent that you think could benefit from this. And we'll be back tomorrow morning with another episode of College Coffee Talk. This is Andy Lockwood, and have a great day. Bye-bye.